A couple weeks ago, I got married off-grid in the Northern Ontario forest. It was early October. The fall colors were beautiful. It was warm and sunny and balmy. And we had no electricity, no cell service, and no plumbing. Suffice it is to say, this was very much a DIY wedding, but honestly, well worth the effort to create this really special and unique day for ourselves and for our friends and family. So today I want to take you behind the scenes, show you a little bit of what goes on to create an event like this. Whether you're just curious or maybe you're planning a wedding yourself and want some inspiration, whether you are on a small budget or you just want to do things DIY or do things a little differently. I feel like wedding culture these days has gotten so big and there's like a lot of pressure around it, and there's a lot of sometimes feels like rules and things you got to do and people's opinions, and I'm just such a huge advocate of doing what's right for you. And I know weddings aren't for everybody. We even considered not even having one, but my partner had said, or my husband said, when are we ever going to get the chance to get all our friends and family in one place under one roof, and also potentially share with them this really special place to us? So that kind of sealed the deal, and we're like, let's buckle up, let's do this thing. So without further ado, let's get into the video. What's the saying? Location, location, location. For me, the setting of the wedding was one of the most important things. And we knew when we decided to do a wedding that we wanted to do it in nature. We're big campers and hikers, and I love nature, and my partner certainly does. And we live in Toronto, which is a major city. So anywhere you have access to nature is very public, and renting venues and places in Toronto, the costs are insane. So it kind of just made perfect sense for us to do this up north. There's a place we've been going to for nearly a decade called Nature's Harmony Ecolodge. For anybody who's in Ontario, I will link it down below for you to check out. It's this couple who has this land, and it's like almost 500 acres of like rolling hills and rivers, hiking trails. There's swimming and kayaking and canoeing as they have access to these lakes. And since we've been going there for nearly a decade, we've seen it kind of grow, and they've slowly started to get more accommodations around the whole land. So there's like yurts and cabins and geodomes and all that really fun stuff. And it's all off-grid. For just a little behind the scenes with like budgeting, it was 1,400 Canadian for us to rent one of the accommodations for an entire week. That's about 1,000 USD. And that was where we also had the wedding. So one of the accommodations they have is quite a big yurt that's big enough to do some small events in. And there's also a bedroom in there and a little off-grid kitchen, things powered by like propane and stuff. So there's a propane stove, a propane fridge. So as much as it was off-grid, it still had these really crucial amenities. So it all just made sense. It was all very perfect. And I couldn't have imagined like a place that could have meant more to us, because we had a relationship with the people who own the property. We've known them for years, and we've been going there through all seasons, seen it through winter, spring, summer, and fall, and it's just such a beautiful place. And as you can imagine, it made perfect sense because there was accommodations on site for people. And then for anybody who wasn't really into the off-grid experience, for example, the toilets are like compost toilets, and you need to bring your own like lighting, lanterns, and all that stuff. There is a town like 12 minutes down the road where there's a little inn, so people who wanted more comfort could stay there. So that being said, time of year is so important for like a wedding, and for me, it was a no-brainer to do an autumn wedding. I love autumn. My partner loves autumn, but I love the autumn. But it was kind of risky because autumn in Northern Ontario can be hit or miss. It can be freezing. It can sometimes start snowing. So sticking with early October felt like the best bet for some really nice weather, but still getting the beautiful fall leaves. And well, we were very blessed with the weather, and it was beautifully sunny, so warm you could go swimming still. That being said, the risk was it could have been cold, it could have been rainy. So when choosing the time of year, and like when you're having something outside, there's always the chance you'll have to be under tents or just stuck inside. And that kind of baked in this rule that we couldn't really have more than like 34 people, because if we have to be stuck inside in in crappy weather, we can fit everyone. So there was like no plus ones. It was just our closest friends, our closest family. And that felt right to me. Less pressure, just people I know and love and trust who I just really want to share this day with. And it was also kind of an excuse. If it's really, really bad weather, we really can't fit any more people. So if you really want a smaller wedding, do it. I really loved it. I wouldn't want any more people, but that's definitely a very personal decision. So we found a perfect location that meant something to us that was also really affordable. Then came the actual day of and what we have to have planned for it and how we're gonna serve 34 people food and how are we gonna deal with plumbing for 34 people. Well, lack thereof plumbing, all that kind of stuff. So the owners were so helpful and had like so many recommendations for us because they've hosted events there. So it's so nice to have a personal relationship potentially with where you're staying and just find some friendly people who are really on your side with things. So we did stay a whole week, as I said, so that we had time to set up and then time to tear down. What we had to do was clear the whole yurt of the furniture already in there. We were able to rent tables and chairs from the local arena. So that was literally just like $50 to have them for several days. Like, the chairs, not so aesthetically pleasing, but they did the job. And we were able to cover the tables with tablecloths, table runners, flowers, decor. I will say in our discoveries about like renting versus buying these kinds of items, unfortunately, it's quite expensive to rent compared to buy. So IKEA had some great deals with like glassware and cutlery and that kind of stuff. And we were able to donate it to a friend who has a bar after, but kind of strange that you can buy stuff for cheaper than renting. I don't like that, but that simply was the case. So IKEA, wow, they came through for the win for a lot of things for us. The plates, though, were compostable, like pressed palm leaves, and so kind of beautiful. Each had a pretty design and very sturdy, and you didn't have to worry about washing a bunch of dishes after. We had like little bottles like to use for the flowers and candles and just little details. It wasn't about getting everything perfect, but just like getting these tables nicely decorated. And in terms of flowers, didn't even order them until like a week before the wedding. But we spoke with a little florist in town and for literally just $150 picked up, little bushels of flowers, things that felt really reflective of fall, like some dried flowers, dried bunny tails, I think they're called, baby's breath, mums, dahlias, and eucalyptus leaves. Such a pretty thing to add into an arrangement. They're like a sage green. So we just picked up the bushels and then I did the little arrangements myself. And then we had like LED string lights we put up and some uplighting in the trees. My partner's very technical, did all the cords and all that stuff. We rented some speakers and we had a little generator. So though we didn't have electricity, we were able to power some things. I do recommend having power so we could have music and lights and all that good stuff. And then the owners helped us set up this outdoor compost toilet. They created like this whole sink with it. I don't know, by like you pump it with your foot. It was pretty cool, pretty neat little thing they set up for us. And I did have a lot of help from friends. So I just recommend asking your closest friends and family for help sometimes. People want to help and lend that helping hand. So my friends who came up a little bit early helped me with the tables, helped me with the place settings and all that good stuff. Food was a big thing to think about, especially as someone with a lot of food allergies. Me and my husband both have food allergies, so it can be a little scary. You're off grid. There's no cell service. We do not want allergic reactions. So anyway, we ended up hiring a friend of ours, not like a close friend who would have been at the wedding, but a friend who essentially knew everyone and was in the same circle and who is really into cooking. And boy, did he pull through. He did Southern barbecue, so brisket, potato salad, coleslaw, cornbread, all that good stuff. It was buffet style, super casual, and people were talking about the food. I gotta say, it's one of those things you feel really proud of when everyone's like silently eating like, this is so good. This is so good. So very simple there in terms of a one-man show, just a friend we trusted, could communicate with, and who knew everybody. So could just stay on site with friends because we're all part of the same circle. So the theme here kind of is just like a lot of friends and family coming together. And that's what I've kind of loved about this whole experience. It just felt like community. And I feel like that's what weddings can be. It doesn't have to be just, about a couple. It can be about how we all come together. That's how I really felt at the end of all this. So for drinks in the bar, it was just serve yourself. We had a table with white and red wine. We had beer, non-alcoholic drinks in a big old cooler that my brother lent me. Some family brought us some wines, and yeah, just serve yourself. We did have help from a guy who worked on the property actually. And honestly, without having his help the day of, it might have been a little bit chaotic, but he helped kind of keep the bar intact, clean up after people, keep the toilets going well. So we didn't have to worry about that. So even though it was a very, very small wedding, I really did appreciate having that extra person who, though we didn't know, was very friendly, worked on the property, knew what was up, and we met a cool new person who works up there and lives in Northern Ontario. And yeah, definitely I do recommend having at least a helping hand if you're having more than 10 people at a wedding maybe. And then in terms of some of the smaller stuff, my dress I got off of Etsy, this really fun gold, I call it a party dress. And I had that tailored, so that was about 600 Canadian total, which I think is pretty good for a bridal dress. Makeup, I did myself. You can check out some of my tutorials here on YouTube as I tried out different makeup. Hair, I heat styled it myself, and a friend did like the styling of it, like the hairdo. I did rent 2 rooms at the inn for me and my friends to get ready in, so we had access to showers and plugs and could blow dry our hair and be nice and clean. In terms of the rings, our friend Yuliya made them, so I'm also going to link her down below because she makes beautiful engagement rings and wedding rings. Yuliya Chorna Jewellery. She did my engagement ring and she did both our wedding bands. My husband has known her since he was 16 and she's a wonderful person. I highly recommend working with her if you want some really beautiful heirloom types of pieces. She does cool things like salt and pepper diamonds, which is what I have, and different kinds of gems and diamonds and all that beautiful sparkly stuff. So again, having friends, being really part of this wedding. In terms of photography, we didn't really want to hire someone we didn't know and do like a million photo shoots. Really just wanted, if I had one good photo of us, that was enough for me. I just sometimes like the way, for example, film photography, you're kind of just stuck with what you get. I love shooting on film. I have a close friend who's a film photographer, so she did some shots of us, some candid shots. Yuliya, who also did the rings, helped out with a couple digital shots so we could have the family together. And then we got some disposable film cameras that we handed around. We had a couple other film cameras that were flying around. I had my Instax for some little mini Polaroids and just like, again, the general community vibe. Someone's got a camera. We've uploaded, we've got the photos developed, and there's like just random photos of times like we weren't there, and it just has the spirit of the wedding. Yeah, I didn't feel like I needed a bunch of fancy photos. I just wanted a couple high quality, good ones, and then just things that reflected the day and wasn't like pressure to take the perfect photo, right? In terms of the actual ceremony, we are not religious, so we did want to find an officiant who was okay with that and did non-religious ceremonies. We found this guy who'd actually done weddings in the same yurt that we were getting married in, and he's a very hippie kind of guy. He's done a lot of ayahuasca, so he was very open to things. It was really important to me that the person who officiated our wedding was also happy to officiate weddings for all genders and all people. So we had a little conversation with him before. He seemed like a really good fit and was happy to really customize the ceremony for us. So it was my idea to do a hand fasting, which is where the term tying the knot comes from. It's an ancient tradition. You can find it in Old Norse and Celtic culture. So you basically wrap this cord around the couple's hands and it symbolizes the knot and the union. The officiant took it quite seriously and met with his friend who's like a druid ovate or something to learn how to do the ceremony. And so it was very sweet of him to be so interested and involved in it. And it felt like a really, really special little detail with the ceremony. We did our own custom vows in terms of repeat after me vows. Didn't really want to stand there and do like a long vow in front of everybody, especially when the nerves were running high. Just the simple repeat after me, but they were custom vows that I had written for us. No bridal party, no aisle, just stood up there in front of everybody like, let's get this thing done. And then after, our friends played Harvest Moon, which was so sweet. There's a lot of musicians in our circle, and as we signed the papers, they were playing Harvest Moon as the harvest moon was basically rising. It was almost the full moon that night. So then after that, all that work, all that lead up, time to party. We had music. We pre-downloaded playlists, of course, because there was no cell service. So I had to make sure we got that. The moon rose. It was so bright and beautiful. There was a bonfire and amazing weather. I can't stop talking about the weather because I feel so happy. It was such a beautiful day. It was actually hot at one point, but the leaves were coming down in the wind, and not to just totally hype up my wedding, but it really did feel quite magical. And then last little detail was we hired a driver who could get the people from town safely back and forth from the wedding. And funnily enough, he grew up on the property, which was, again, a very sweet detail. And then we had a couple days after to clean up. It's a lot to clean up after a DIY wedding, reset everything, but we did have a chance to relax, go swimming, hiking, go in the sauna, decompress a little bit. So yeah, that was really overview of the day. Anything I would have done differently is given ourselves 1 or 2 more days to set up. It did feel a little rushed. I would have appreciated another day because it felt like the last detail came into place when the officiant arrived and we were just going. I would have liked a little bit more downtime. I'm not a person who likes to rush, but besides that, that was really the only thing I would have done differently, just an extra day. So if you are doing DIY, I highly recommend just giving yourself that extra time. Along with that, I suppose, just don't be afraid to ask friends and family for help. I had to ask my friends, I have not gotten these tables ready. Please help me. And they were just so happy to do it. In fact, some of my friends expressed that was like one of their favorite parts of it and just like being a part of it, right? Oh, I forgot to show you the hand fasting cord. Here it is. I made it myself. Again, DIY, went to Michael's and got some like ribbons that I tied together. My partner's husband, was green and I had the gold dress. So really fun little combo. And this is something we can have forever and keep it safely tucked away or display it. I don't know, but such a beautiful thing to have as a memory. Yeah, that was about it. That was the overview of the wedding and all the little things. If you are planning a wedding and have any questions, let me know because I did learn a lot in this experience. But again, as I said at the beginning, I just highly recommend doing things your way. There was times I felt pressure to just do something in Toronto because it's just more convenient for everybody. But I just did not want to be surrounded by buildings for this special day. I wanted to be in nature. And I gotta say, the fact that it was off-grid and there was no cell service, while sometimes a little inconvenient, was actually beautiful because nobody was on their phones. And a couple people pointed this out, just everybody was very present. And you cannot get that these days in modern society. So it really felt like a little bit like, well, this is how they used to do it. We're so afraid sometimes to be away from cell service, but sometimes it can be a really beautiful gift. And I kind of really appreciated it in the end, though slightly inconvenient at times. So if you're having any doubts about your DIY wedding, here's me to say, go for it. Just give yourself a little bit of extra time, and I hope you enjoyed this video and potentially got some inspiration or just enjoyed this little bit of storytelling on this special day in my life. Thank you to everybody for being here. I gotta say, like, I hit 40K subscribers recently, and it felt like a really big milestone. And I'm feeling really appreciative of this beautiful community here who loves beauty and nature. I think a lot of you love nature too. And I'm really looking forward to the coming year in 2026 and continuing to explore beauty with you. And yeah, that's it for today. Toasty! Let's take it away. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention Toasty and his outfit. He had this little, he wears a harness because he's a small dog, and it had a little bow tie. It was like a little suit, but like could have his leash on the back, and he looks so dashing, so cute. He'll disagree. He thinks he looks stupid, but he looks so beautiful. And he was always in someone's arms. I was a little nervous about having him there, just like, what if he gets lost? What if he runs away? Not that he's a runner, but he was always in somebody's arms. Someone was always holding him and swaying him and dancing him just like a little baby. And he was safe the whole time. All right, friends, thank you for watching until the end. And if you want to check out my Patreon coven, link down below to help support my channel. I really appreciate all the love and support there, and you get some bonus content as part of your subscription. But of course, thank you so much just for watching. And if you want to give this a like, that means a lot, or leave a comment. And until next time, may you all find yourselves a little bit of, well, I normally say makeup magic, but today I'm just going to say, may you all find yourselves a little bit of magic, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, witches.